Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum dear students. This is your instructor Miss Sayyida Sidra from Department of Chemistry. Hope so that you all are fine. Today is our lecture number 2. In lecture number 1 we have started the chapter number 1, stoichiometry chapter, and the topics which we have studied in that lecture, they include the introduction about stoichiometry, mole, Avogadro's number, conversion factor, and the numerical problems related to these topics. And the topics which we will cover in today's lecture inshallah, they include volume of gases, percentage composition, excess and limiting reactants, and the numerical problems related to these different topics. First of all, starting with the volume of gases. If you remember this thing, that in last lecture I have discussed about the gases, that whenever we have gas, the molar quantities of gases, they are expressed in terms of their volumes. So if we have any gas, the 1 mole of any gas at standard temperature pressure, it occupies a volume equals to 22.414 cubic decimeter. This is called as molar volume. And the standard temperature pressure. Standard temperature is either given in Celsius scale or Kelvin scale. Its value in Celsius scale is 0 degrees Celsius, while in Kelvin scale its value is equivalent to 273 Kelvin. And the standard pressure is 1 atmospheric pressure. According to this Gay-Lussac law of combining volumes, if gases they are reacting with each other, so they react in simple whole number ratios in order to produce the products. I will explain this with the help of an example. That for example, if we have hydrogen gas and it reacts with the chlorine gas, we will get 2 moles of HCl gas. This G in the subscript, it indicates the gaseous state. We can also state this equation in this way, that 1 molar volume of hydrogen gas, it combines with the 1 molar volume of chlorine gas. We will have the formation of 2 molar volumes of hydrogen chloride gas. If we have more than 1 molar volume, so we have to simply multiply that coefficient with the molar volume value. For example, we have that the 22.414 cubic decimeter of any gas at standard temperature pressure, it will be equals to 1 mole, and that 1 mole it contains how many molecules? The molecules we have 6.023 into 10 raised to power 23 molecules. If we have hydrogen gas, so the molar volume means 22.414 cubic decimeter of 1 mole of hydrogen gas at standard temperature pressure is equals to 2 grams. This 2 grams is the mass of 1 mole of hydrogen gas. It contains 6.023 into 10 raised to power 23 molecules. And if we have an ammonia gas, so the 1 molar volume of ammonia gas at standard temperature pressure is equals to 17 grams. This 17 grams is the mass of 1 mole of ammonia gas. It contains 6.023 into 10 raised to power 23 molecules. Now we have a sample problem number 1.4 related to this topic from your textbook. First of all, read the statement of this sample problem very carefully from your textbook, that determine the volume that 2.5 moles of chlorine molecules occupy at standard temperature pressure. The best way to solve the numerical problems, that first of all you have to write the given data, and next you have to find out this thing, that what you have to calculate. In the given data of this numerical problem, we are provided with moles of chlorine equals to 2.5 moles, and we have to calculate the volume of chlorine molecules. For solving this problem, as I have discussed in the previous slide, that 22.414 cubic decimeter of chlorine at standard temperature pressure is equals to 1 mole, or we can also write this in this way, that 1 mole of chlorine, it occupies a volume of 22.414 cubic decimeter at standard temperature pressure. If 1 mole occupies this volume, so if we have 2.5 moles, so what volume will be occupied by the chlorine molecules? Simply we have to multiply the molar volume value with the number of moles, that 22.414 cubic decimeter multiplied by 2.5. So the volume of chlorine molecules will be equal to 56.035 cubic decimeter. And this is the volume which is occupied by 2.5 moles of chlorine molecules. Related to this topic, we have self-check exercise 1.3 given in your book. You have to make one correction in your book, that in your book they have mentioned that this is self-check exercise 1.2, but this is self-check exercise 1.3. Two numericals are given in this, A and B. You have to solve both these numericals with the help of these different relationships. The next topic we have percentage composition. If we have any compound, we are familiar with this thing, that the compound is composed up of different elements. So the relative amount of each element present in the compound is called as percentage composition. This is the definition of percentage composition. For example, we have magnesium oxide. The percentage of magnesium in magnesium oxide is equals to 60.3%, while the percentage of oxygen in magnesium oxide is equals to 39.7%. But you have to remember one point in your mind, that the sum of all the percentages of each and every element present in a compound, it must be equals to 100. If you have calculated the percentage composition of a compound and you have add up all the percentage composition of each and every element and it's not equal to 100, it means that you have done some mistake. What are the steps for the calculation of percentage composition? We have two steps for the determination of percentage composition. That first you have to calculate the molar mass of the compound. How you will calculate the molar mass of the compound? For example, for the determination of the molar mass of this magnesium oxide, you have to add up the atomic masses of both of these elements. This will gives you the molar mass of this compound. And in second step, you have to calculate the percentage of each element in 1 mole of the compound. But you have to calculate this percentage of each element with the help of this formula, that the percentage of an element is equal to mass of element in 1 mole of compound divided by molar mass of the compound multiplied by 100. I have quoted one example for the better understanding of percentage composition. This is the formula which we have discussed now. I have taken the example of water. So following the step 1, you have to calculate the molar mass of water, which is equal to 2 into 1. This 1 is the atomic mass of one hydrogen atom, but here we have this 2 written along with this hydrogen atom. So this 2 multiplied by 1 plus 16. This 16 is the atomic mass of oxygen. So the overall molar mass of this water molecule is equals to 18 grams. In step 2, you have to calculate the mass percent of hydrogen, which is equals to 2 divided by 18 multiplied by 100. And that value will be equals to 11.11%. Next we have to calculate the mass percent of oxygen, which is equals to 16. This is the mass of oxygen in the water divided by 18, which is the molar mass of the water, multiplied by 100. And the value is equal to 88.89%. After calculating the percentages of both the hydrogen and oxygen, we have to add up both these percentages. and the value will be equals to 100. So in this way we can calculate the percentage composition of any compound given to us. The next topic we have excess and limiting reactant. As the word indicates, excess means extra and the limiting which has a small amount. First I will discuss about the limiting reactant, that it is the reactant which is consumed earlier or completely during a reaction. This is one of the definition of the limiting reactant. We can also define the limiting reactant in this way, that the reactant which gives the least number of moles of product is also called as limiting reactant. This limiting reactant, it determines the amount of product formed during a reaction. And the excess reactant, we have that reactant which remains unused or unreacted after the completion of particular reaction. But what is the purpose of addition of this excess reactant? That it will be added to a particular reaction in order to ensure this thing, that the other reactant is completely used up. This reactant is either more cheaper or easier to recycle during a reaction. Now I will explain both of these limiting reactant and excess reactant with the help of an example. For example, we have the formation of this iron sulfide, and the reactants here we have iron plus sulfur. We will have the formation of iron sulfide. These yellow color balls, they are representing the sulfur, while brown color balls, they are representing the iron. Just focus on this box of the figure, that how many atoms of sulfur and how many atoms of iron we have. In this we have 5 atoms of sulfur and 5 atoms of iron. By the combination of all of these, we will have the formation of 5 moles of iron sulfide. Here this is stoichiometrically equal. The amount of the iron and sulfur, they are equal to each other, so they combine accurately with each other in order to have the formation of iron sulfide. Now focus on the second part of this figure. In this box we have 3 atoms of iron while 5 atoms of sulfur. Upon reaction with each other, we will get 3 moles of iron sulfide, and we are left with 2 sulfur atoms. In this part, these sulfur atoms, they are in excess amount, so the sulfur will act as the excess reactant, while the iron is consumed earlier as compared to the sulfur. So upon the consumption of this iron, the reaction will stop. So this iron will act as the limiting reactant in this example, and sulfur will be the excess reactant. We have different numerical problems related to this topic. But what are the different steps and how you will identify the limiting reactant in particular reaction? We have different steps. First of all, you have to write the balanced chemical equation. After writing the balanced chemical equation, you have to determine the number of moles of the reactant quantities if they are present in grams. If in grams quantities are given, you have to convert them into moles. And I told you earlier that how you can convert the grams into moles. After finding the moles of each and every reactant present in a reaction, you have to find the number of moles of product with respect to each reactant. That you have to calculate the number of moles of the product with respect to each reactant stoichiometrically. After finding the number of moles of the product, you have to locate this thing, that which one of the reactant gives the least number of moles of product. That one will be the limiting reactant. The reactant which gives the least number of moles of product will be our limiting reactant. Once you will locate this thing, that this reactant is giving the least number of moles of product, so that will be the limiting reactant. After this, you have to calculate the mass of the product with respect to that reactant. So once we have calculated this limiting reactant, so you are capable for the calculation of excess reactant given in your problem. Now the example related to this topic. This example is given in your book that 10 moles of hydrogen and 7 moles of oxygen were reacted to produce water. Which one of the reactant is limiting reactant? Here we are given in terms of moles, that we have 10 moles of hydrogen and 7 moles of oxygen. The first step, which I have explained in the previous slide, that you have to write the balanced equation. Balanced equation is already given to us, that 2 moles of hydrogen, when they react with 1 mole of oxygen, we will have the formation of 2 moles of water molecule. Next, the number of moles are already given to us. So what we have to do, that we have to calculate the number of moles of water molecule with respect to hydrogen and with respect to oxygen. So stoichiometrically, first we will calculate the number of moles of water with respect to hydrogen. That 2 moles of hydrogen gives us 2 moles of water molecule. That 2 moles of hydrogen is equal to 2 moles of water molecule. So here the water molecule will be our desired quantity and the hydrogen molecules will be our given quantity, because the number of moles of hydrogen they are also given to us in the statement of this problem. If 2 moles gives us 2 moles of water molecule, so 10 moles of hydrogen will give us 2 divided by 2. This 2 divided by 2 will be our conversion factor. Multiply by 10, and this 10 is the given quantity. So 10 moles of hydrogen gives us 10 moles of water molecule. Now we will calculate the moles of water molecule with respect to the oxygen. From the balanced chemical equation, it is clearly visible that 1 mole of oxygen molecule gives us 2 moles of water molecule. That 1 mole of oxygen is equal to 2 moles of water molecule. So if we have 7 moles of oxygen, which equals to 2 divided by 1, this is the conversion factor multiplied by the given quantity. So 7 moles of oxygen gives us 14 moles of water molecule. This is the third step. Now we have to look at this thing, that among both of these reactants, hydrogen and oxygen, which one is giving us the least number of moles of water molecule? Hydrogen is giving 10 moles, while oxygen is giving us 14 moles. So the hydrogen is giving us 10 moles of water molecule. So this hydrogen will be the limiting reactant, and oxygen here act as the excess reactant. So with the help of this, we can locate that what is the limiting reactant in a particular numerical problem and what will be the excess reactant. Next we have a sample problem number 1.5 related to this topic. We have different numericals and we have to solve these numericals with the steps I have explained earlier. First of all, read the statement of this problem carefully from your textbook. That 200 grams of potassium dichromate were reacted with 200 grams of concentrated sulfuric acid. We have to calculate two things. In part A, we have to calculate mass of atomic oxygen produced, while in part B, we have to calculate mass of reactant left unreacted. Balanced chemical equation is already given to us, that 1 mole of potassium dichromate, when it combines with 4 moles of sulfuric acid, we will have the formation of 1 mole of potassium sulfate plus 1 mole of chromium sulfate plus 4 moles of water molecules plus 3 moles of atomic oxygen. In given data of this sample problem, we are provided with the masses of potassium dichromate and concentrated sulfuric acid. mass of potassium dichromate is equals to 200 grams, while the mass of concentrated sulfuric acid is equals to 200 grams. First we will solve the part A, but we have to follow all the steps which I have explained for the determination of the limiting reactant. That the first step is already done, that the balanced chemical equation is already given to us. We have to proceed from the step 2, that the quantities of the reactants, they are given in terms of grams. So first we have to calculate the number of moles of both of these reactants. Starting with the number of moles of potassium dichromate. Mass of potassium dichromate is 200 grams, while the formula mass of potassium dichromate is equals to 294 grams per mole. This potassium dichromate is an ionic compound, and we can calculate the number of moles of potassium dichromate with the help of this formula, that the given mass divided by formula mass. After putting the values, 200 grams divided by 294 grams per mole, grams they cancel out with each other. So the number of moles of potassium dichromate will be equals to 0.68 moles. Now we will calculate the number of moles of sulfuric acid. Mass of concentrated sulfuric acid is equals to 200 grams, while the formula mass of sulfuric acid is equals to 98 grams per mole. We consider this sulfuric acid as an ionic compound depending upon the splitting of this hydrogen from this bisulfate ions. So we can calculate the number of moles of sulfuric acid by using this formula, that the given mass divided by formula mass. After putting the values, 200 grams divided by 98 grams per mole. Grams they cancel out each other, and after calculating the values, the number of moles of sulfuric acid is equal to 2.04 moles. You have to make one correction in your book, that at this step they have written the molar mass of this sulfuric acid equals to 294, but it's wrong. The molar mass of this sulfuric acid is equals to 98 grams per mole. Now the third step, that you have to calculate the moles of the product, and the product, here we have the atomic oxygen. We have to calculate the moles or the mass of this atomic oxygen with respect to both of these reactants. So for the calculation of this mass, first we have to calculate the number of moles of this atomic oxygen produced with respect to both of these reactants, potassium dichromate and sulfuric acid. And after calculating, we have to locate the limiting reactant. First, we will calculate the number of moles of oxygen produced with respect to potassium dichromate. So here we are comparing the potassium dichromate with the atomic oxygen. So from the balanced chemical equation, 1 mole of potassium dichromate, it gives us 3 moles of atomic oxygen. So if we have 0.68 moles of potassium dichromate, so how many moles of oxygen molecule will be, atomic oxygen will be produced? This 3 divided by 1 is the conversion factor, because the atomic oxygen here is the desired quantity, while the potassium dichromate is the given quantity. So after putting the values, 3 divided by 1 multiplied by 0.68, and after solving this, that we will get the moles of atomic oxygen produced with respect to 0.68 moles of potassium dichromate, and it's equal to 2.04 moles of atomic oxygen. Now we will calculate the moles of oxygen produced with respect to concentrated sulfuric acid, that we are comparing the sulfuric acid with the atomic oxygen. So from the balanced equation, 4 moles of sulfuric acid gives us 3 moles of atomic oxygen. So if we have 2.04 moles of sulfuric acid, so how many moles of atomic oxygen we can get? This 3 divided by 4 is the conversion factor, multiplied by 2.04 is the given quantity. So after solving this, we will get the moles of atomic oxygen produced, that it's equal to 1.53 moles of atomic oxygen will be produced from 2.04 moles of sulfuric acid. Now we have calculated the moles of atomic oxygen with respect to both of the reactants. We have to locate which one of the reactant gives the least number of moles of atomic oxygen. So the sulfuric acid, here it gives us the least number of moles of atomic oxygen. So this sulfuric acid will act as a limiting reactant in this example. And now we have to calculate the mass of atomic oxygen. So how we can calculate the mass of atomic oxygen? We can calculate with the help of this formula. Number of moles is equal to mass divided by atomic mass. For the calculation of mass, cross multiply the number of moles with the atomic mass. We have to proceed with those number of moles, which is the limiting reactant number of moles. So the mass of atomic oxygen will be equals to 1.53 multiplied by 16. So the atomic oxygen mass we will get in this example, it's equals to 24.4 grams of atomic oxygen. Now proceeding towards the part B. In part A, we have calculated the limiting reactant, which is the sulfuric acid. So it means that potassium dichromate will be the excess reactant. We have also calculated the number of moles of potassium dichromate and sulfuric acid in part A. So for the calculation of the excess reactant, which is the potassium dichromate, we have to compare the limiting reactant with the excess reactant. And from the balanced chemical equation, it clearly indicates that the 4 moles of sulfuric acid is equals to 1 mole of potassium dichromate. So here we can also say this thing, that this mole ratio explains the reactant-reactant relationship. But if we have 2.04 moles of sulfuric acid, so how many moles of potassium dichromate to react with the sulfuric acid in order to produce the product? So after writing the conversion factor along with the given quantity, this 1/4 will be the conversion factor multiplied by 2.04 moles of potassium dichromate. This gives us that 2.04 moles of sulfuric acid gives us 0.51 moles of potassium dichromate. These 0.51 moles of potassium dichromate, these are those moles which react completely with the sulfuric acid in order to produce the product. So how we can calculate the number of moles of potassium dichromate which remains unreacted? The number of moles of potassium dichromate are already given to us. Simply we have to subtract the number of moles of potassium dichromate consumed in this reaction from the already given the number of moles of potassium dichromate. The number of moles of potassium dichromate left unreacted will be equal to 0.68 minus 0.51, which is equal to 0.17 moles of potassium dichromate. But we have to calculate the mass of reactant in this. So the mass of potassium dichromate is equal to number of moles multiplied by formula mass of potassium dichromate. So 0.17 multiplied by 294, it gives us 49.98 grams of potassium dichromate which remains unreacted in this reaction. So in this way we can calculate. In part A, we have calculated the mass of atomic oxygen produced and the mass of reactant left unreacted in part B. Now moving towards the next sample problem number 1.6. The 20 grams of sulfuric acid on dissolving in water, it ionizes completely. We have to calculate 3 things: number of sulfuric acid molecules, number of hydrogen ions and sulfate ions, and in part C we have to calculate the mass of individual ions. And the given data we have the mass of sulfuric acid is equals to 20 grams. First we will solve the part A, number of sulfuric acid molecules. The molar mass of sulfuric acid is equals to 98.016 grams per mole. But how we can calculate the molecules? We have discussed about the molecules in previous lecture, that the formula used for the calculation of different particles. I have discussed in detail about the atoms, molecules and ions, that how we can calculate all these particles. You have to use the same formula, that the number of molecules of sulfuric acid is equals to number of moles multiplied by Avogadro's number. And the moles, they are equal to given mass divided by molar mass. After putting all these values, the given mass of sulfuric acid is equals to 20 grams and the molar mass of sulfuric acid is 98.016 grams per mole. You have to put all these values, and after calculating, the number of molecules of sulfuric acid will be equals to 1.228 into 10 raised to the power 23 molecules of sulfuric acid. Now part B, that we have to calculate the individual ions, hydrogen ions and sulfate ions with respect to these molecules. For this, first we have to write the equation that sulfuric acid dissolves in water as follows. That sulfuric acid upon dissociation in water, we will have the formation of 2 hydrogen ions plus 1 sulfate ions. So first we will calculate the number of hydrogen ions with respect to these molecules of sulfuric acid. According to this equation, that the one molecule of sulfuric acid is equals to 2 hydrogen ions. So if we have 1.228, here this 2 is missing, 1.228 into 10 raised to the power 23 molecules of sulfuric acid. So how many hydrogen ions we have? Simply multiply this 2 with the molecules of sulfuric acid. We will get the hydrogen ions, and the values is equal to 2.456 into 10 raised to the power 23 hydrogen ions. And now for the calculation of sulfate ions, as it is clearly visible from the balanced chemical equation, that the one molecule of sulfuric acid, it gives us 1 sulfate ions. So the number of sulfate ions will also be equals to number of molecules of sulfuric acid. So 1.228 into 10 raised to the power 23 molecules of sulfuric acid is equals to 1 multiplied by 1.228 into 10 raised to the power 23 sulfate ions. So in this way we can calculate the hydrogen ions and sulfate ions from the sulfuric acid. In part C, we have to calculate the mass of individual ions. For the calculation of the masses of individual ions, we have to proceed with the same formula which we have used in part A, that the number of hydrogen ions is equals to mass divided by atomic mass multiplied by Avogadro's number. But here we have to calculate this mass of individual ion. We have to rearrange this equation, that cross multiply the atomic mass with the number of hydrogens divided by Avogadro's number. After putting all these values, we can get the mass of hydrogen ions, which is equal to 0.411 gram. And similarly, by using with the help of the same formula, we can get the mass of sulfate ions. After rearranging the formula, the mass of sulfate ions is equals to molar mass multiplied by number of sulfate ions divided by Avogadro's number. After putting all these values, the mass of sulfate ion is equals to 19.58 grams. So with the help of the formula for the calculation of the particles, we can calculate the number of molecules of sulfuric acid. We can also calculate the number of hydrogen ions and sulfate ions, and also the masses of these individual ions. In this chapter, so many numerical problems are given to us, so you have to practice all these again and again in order to get the better understanding. Now starting with the sample problem number 1.7. Magnesium metal, it reacts with the sulfur to produce the magnesium sulfide. So how many grams of magnesium sulfide can be made from 1.50 gram of magnesium and 1.50 gram of sulfur by the reaction? That 1 mole of magnesium, it combines with 1 mole of sulfur, we will have the formation of 1 mole of magnesium sulfide. First of all, write the given data, and we are provided with the mass of magnesium and mass of sulfur, which is equals to 1.50 grams and 1.50 grams. What we have to calculate? We have to calculate the mass of magnesium sulfide. But for this we have to locate the limiting reactant first. So we have to proceed with those steps which I have explained earlier. That the balanced chemical equation is already given to us. So in step 2 we have to convert the given masses which are given in terms of grams into the moles. So we have to calculate the number of moles of magnesium and sulfur separately. That the number of moles of magnesium is equals to given mass divided by atomic mass. Given mass is 1.50 divided by 24, which is equals to 0.0625 moles. While the number of moles of sulfur we have 1.50 divided by the atomic mass of this sulfur, it equals to 0.0467 moles. So we have done the step 2. Now proceeding towards the step 3, that we have to calculate the number of moles of this product with respect to both of these reactants. First we will calculate the number of moles of magnesium sulfide with respect to magnesium. From the equation, this equation indicates that 1 mole of magnesium, it gives us 1 mole of magnesium sulfide. So if we have 0.0625 moles of magnesium, so the moles of magnesium sulfide will be equivalent to the moles of magnesium, because in the equation we both have 1 mole of magnesium and 1 mole of magnesium sulfide. And now we will calculate the moles of magnesium sulfide with respect to the sulfur. From this balanced equation, it indicates this thing, that 1 mole of sulfur is equals to 1 mole of magnesium sulfide. So if we have 0.0467 moles of sulfur, so the moles of magnesium sulfide will be equivalent to the moles of sulfur, because again 1 mole of sulfur, it gives us the 1 mole of magnesium sulfide. We have calculated the moles of magnesium sulfide, but now we have to locate the limiting reactant. That which one of the reactant it gives us the least number of moles of product. So the sulfur, it gives us the least number of moles of this magnesium sulfide. Why there is need to locate the limiting reactant? Because we have to proceed with the number of moles of magnesium sulfide for the calculation of its mass. As I have explained earlier, that we proceed with those number of moles which is from the limiting reactant. So the number of moles of magnesium sulfide will be equivalent to 0.0467 moles. But here we have to find the mass of magnesium sulfide. So for the calculation of the mass of magnesium sulfide, moles of magnesium sulfide is equals to 0.0467 moles, and the molar mass of this magnesium sulfide is equals to 56 grams per mole. You have to use the number of moles formula, that the number of moles is equals to mass divided by molar mass. You have to calculate this mass, cross multiply the number of moles with the molar mass. This is equals to 0.0467 into 56 gives us the mass of magnesium sulfide, which is equals to 2.6152 grams of magnesium sulfide. And the last sample problem from today's lecture, we have that suppose 1.87 moles of ammonium chloride were reacted with 1.35 moles of calcium hydroxide. So how many grams of calcium hydroxide are left unreacted in this reaction? Balanced chemical equation is already given to us. In the given data of the sample problem, we are provided with the moles, that the moles of ammonium chloride and the moles of calcium hydroxide. What we have to calculate? Mass of calcium hydroxide left unreacted. It means that the ammonium chloride in this example is the limiting reactant, while the calcium hydroxide is the excess reactant. So straight away we have to proceed towards the determination of excess reactant. So according to this equation, we have to compare this ammonium chloride with this calcium hydroxide. Now here this ammonium chloride is the given quantity, while this calcium hydroxide is the desired quantity. And this balanced chemical equation, it indicates this thing, that the 2 moles of ammonium chloride is equals to 1 mole of calcium hydroxide. So if we have 1.87 moles of ammonium chloride, so it will be equals to 1 divided by 2. This 1 divided by 2 is the conversion factor multiplied by 1.87. After solving this part, the moles of calcium hydroxide which reacts with the ammonium chloride is equals to 0.935 moles of calcium hydroxide. These are those moles which are consumed in this reaction. So how we can calculate the number of moles of calcium hydroxide left unreacted? The initially present the moles of calcium hydroxide we have 1.35 moles. Simply subtract the consumed calcium hydroxide moles from the initially present number of moles of calcium hydroxide. That 1.35 minus 0.935, which gives us 0.415 moles of calcium hydroxide, which remains unreacted during this reaction. We have to calculate the mass. So the molecular mass of this calcium hydroxide is equals to 74. Number of moles we have calculated, and the mass of calcium hydroxide can be calculated with the help of this formula, that the number of moles multiplied by the molecular mass. So 74 multiplied by 0.415, it gives us the unreacted calcium hydroxide, and the value is 30.7 grams of calcium hydroxide, which is present in excess amount. That's all from today's lecture. I tried my level best to explain each and every step of every numerical in detail. If you still have any query, you can share that with me. Now the home task. You have to attempt the self-check exercise 1.3, self-check exercise 1.4, and you have to attempt the question number 5 and 7 from the exercise of this chapter. You have to solve all these on your NEET notebook. You have to maintain a register, and you have to upload the pictures of all this home tasks on your web portal. Stay home, stay safe. Allah Hafiz.